Hello, this is David King from Flow Mobile Surveying. In this video we're going to do a fire damper maintenance report from start to finish. There are 4 parts to this process. Firstly, we will set up the job and schedule the job on the dashboard. Then we will collect some data using the mobile app, do a quick QC of the report, and finally issue it to the client. Now this is the same demo that we would do if you booked a call with us, but obviously if you book a call you can ask questions and we can go a little bit deeper on some of those features. So before I get started, I just want to explain that there are 2 parts to the product. There's the dashboard, you can see here on the left. You can access this in your browser, and we use this for scheduling your jobs, doing data entry and things like that. And then there's the mobile app, which you can use on site. This is running an iPhone simulator, but it will also work on Androids and tablets as well. So this screen here is showing me all of my work in progress jobs. We'll come back to that towards the end of the demo, and you'll have a little bit more information to understand how it works. To set up the job, all I need to do is fill in this short form. So firstly, I put in my client. Now, if I'm working for an existing client, I can search through like so. And I can see for 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝘀, I've actually got a few contracts on at the moment, some purchase orders and things like that. But for this demo, let's create a new client. So, Flower Fire Damper Company. And I'm going to set up a project too, so demo project. Now I need to set the address for where I'm working. So this is our head office, 11 Teapot Studios in Holt's Yard. And you can see that as I'm typing, the map is automatically adjusting and looking up the coordinates for the site. Now this is useful because we can use it for getting directions via the mobile app, and we also render the map on the report so your customer knows that you've been to the right place. Now I actually know that this has put the coordinates in the reception at the front, and our office is actually just over here, so I can adjust that. The next thing I need to do is put it into a pipeline. Now we've got a few pipelines here, and I just want to explain that a pipeline is basically a preset to-do list, and when everything is marked off as complete, we know that the job is finished. So let's put this into my fire damper inspections pipeline, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. Now I'm going to schedule the site work for today, and I'll assign it to myself and to Paul. And the due date for this report, let's say Monday by the time we give it a review. Now when I save this, you'll notice that the mobile app is automatically kept up to date. So there's no concept here of a sync button or anything like that. The two just communicate in real time. Now oftentimes at this point in the demo, people ask us, does it work offline? And the answer is absolutely yes, it does. So this is offline first, and the way it works is if you do go offline, you can continue to work as normal, but once you get a data connection again, it just syncs up in the background. So at this point, we've scheduled up our job, but let's have a quick peek at that pipeline. So you can see here, the fire damper inspections has 3 parts to it. It's the site work, quick QC, and then issue to the customer. Now we can customize these pipelines. For example, you might have an extra stage at the end for issuing an invoice or something like that. But we find that this works quite well. So let's hop over to the mobile app and start doing some data collection. So you'll notice here that I've got a list of jobs. I've just got the one on at the moment. If I click into it, you'll see that we have access to the same pipeline. We can also click to get directions as well. Now what I need to do here is to add a report. So I'm going to scroll down. I've got a few templates on this account and pick out our fire and smoke damper maintenance report. And basically all I need to do is run through this list. So now that I've arrived on site, I'm going to take a photo of the building. So let's say I am at a Nando's here. So typically you'd normally use your camera, but because I'm on a simulator, I've got to pick from the gallery. Next up, I have optional scope and site details. I'll show you what that looks like. Basically, you can put in a little bit of information about the site here, but I'm going to jump straight into the inspection. Now, there's nothing in the list here, so I need to add my first item. And again, I'm just going to fill out this form. So I'm going to say that I am in the main building. I'm on the ground floor and I'm in the kitchen. And I found fire damper ID 001, for example. And there's a few different types in the system that you can search through. So let's say a fusible link curtain damper here. You can type your own as well if you wish. For this one, I'm going to say I have full access, so I'll not do any access notes. I'll look at that in a moment. So we have a few optional fields here for fire damper specifications. I'm just going to skip over them for now and get into the damper testing. So I'm going to take a photo of the fire damper in its initial state. Just scroll down. Here it is. And then once in its dropped state, again, you'd normally take photos with your camera. So here it is dropped, and finally reset as well, like so. And at this point, I can say whether my test was successful or not. So for this one, I'm going to pass it. And there's a few extra fields here again, but I'll leave them out for the time being. So this is automatically taking me back to that list where I can see all the fire dampers that I've inspected so far. So let's say this building has a lot of those curtain damper, fusible link curtain dampers. I'm actually going to copy this one. So I can swipe to the right, and it's asking me which data do I want to copy over to the next inspection. So let's say I'm still in the kitchen. I'm looking at the same type of fire damper, maybe a bit further along. I'm actually going to copy everything and make some changes on the next screen. I won't copy the ID number. This one will be 002. So maybe for this one, I've got limited access. And I'm just going to have a look at some of the example access notes that we might include here. You can see we've got a few we have a few example values we can use. So I'm going to put cable trays preventing access. Again, we've got those optional specs. I did copy over the images. Typically you wouldn't do this, but I just don't want to bore you by scrolling through my gallery. And let's say this one didn't reset, so I'm just going to remove that one. And I'm going to fail this one. So normally I would take a photo of it in its failed reset state as well. And because I've failed, I'm going to put in a remedial action. So here I'm going to say, okay, remove cable trays. And I might take an additional photo if I wanted to draw attention to anything there. So as you can see, I continue adding fire damper inspections in this way. And once I've finished, I can go back to my report page. I can add any optional attachments if I like, but I'll probably do that in the back office. Let's just go back up to the jobs list, and we can see the pipeline here. So now that I've finished on site, I'm going to mark off the site work as complete. So let's go back to the dashboard and have a look at what's happened over here. So you can see that, like I mentioned earlier, the two devices, the two systems are in permanent communication, and I can already see that the site work is finished in the back office. So I'm going to go into that report, and you can see again the same data is available here. So I can see that cover photo and also that inspection data as well. So I can scroll through here and see the images that we took. Now for the QC part, that's actually pretty straightforward. Before I view the report, I need to choose a layout. Now, The layout is basically how do we want to render this data. So most of the time we want to render it in the same way, but you might have circumstances where you want it to look a little bit different. So you have the option here. So I'm just going to choose sort by fire damper ID and save that. Now when I view the report, I have all of my data that we collected on site. So if I just scroll down, you can see that's the photo that we took of the building. I have a little bit more information here. Now we do customize our cover pages for our customers, but I'll cover that in a separate video. And we can see we have a table of contents and then some details about the job. So this is mostly information that we put into the system when we set up the job. But you can see we haven't signed it off for QC yet. So let's just move on a little bit further. You can see that we show a few totals here. So we inspected 2 fire dampers, 1 passed, 1 failed, and there was 1 remedial action as well. And then here we're listing off the remedial actions. So fire damper ID 2 needs its cable trays removed. But you could be talking about things like replacing access hatches, or maybe even the fire dampers that you could not find in the system as well. Then we have the asset register as well, and that's really repeating that information, but it would include all the different dampers. And scrolling on ahead, we have the inspection details, where we can look at each individual fire damper and the state that they're in. And I think this is actually okay. I might make some changes with the remedial actions in the dashboard. So let's have a quick look at that. I'm going to go into the inspection part here, and this one with the cable trays preventing access, I can make any data changes that we did on the mobile app. I can do the same on here. So I might update my remedial actions, for example, here. But I actually think it's okay. So what I need to do now is approve the report. So I'm just going to put in the date that I've QC'd and issued it and save it. Because I've finished the QC, I also want to mark that stage off as complete. And you'll see why that's important in a moment. So going back over to the report, I'm going to scroll up back to that second page where we had the report details. If I just refresh this, you'll see that the QC date and issue date has been updated. So the final thing we need to do is issue the report to the client. So I'm just going to click download PDF, and this just generates the PDF. It's usually pretty quick. I can click that to open it. We do make a few changes for the PDF. It will look the same, but there's a few key differences. So I'm just going to scroll on ahead to one of those lists here. So here's our asset register. Now you might have hundreds of fire dampers in different states. And in those cases, it's really important to know how to read the report. So if you're doing remedial work, for example, I might work off the previous table here, list of remedial actions. And you'll notice that on the right-hand side, we're showing you the page number. So if you're looking at this on a laptop or your phone, you can click this and it will jump straight to that inspection details page here, so you can get more information. For example, we might have taken a photo of the cable trays and that would have appeared down here. The other thing about this is we're very careful with our photos. So we don't want the PDF to be huge, so we make sure we use appropriately sized images to make sure that the document isn't too big. But it can be quite important to be able to view those originals. So I can click on any of these photos and get access to these original images, and you can see they're really high quality. So I think I'm pretty happy with this report. Typically I would issue that PDF to the client and mark the stage off as complete. But I don't want to do that just now, so that I can show you one of our other features. Now when we started, we saw this screen here and I kind of glossed over it. But we've got a bit more information, so now we can understand a little bit more about how it works. So this is showing you all of my work in progress jobs. So these are jobs that are not currently finished. Now, there's a lot of asbestos surveys in here, but we can filter it down. So I'm going to say show me all my jobs, all my fire damper inspection jobs that are incomplete. And you can see I've got a few in the system. But we can do a bit more with this. We can say show me the jobs awaiting site work, so we haven't finished or started on site. Awaiting QC, so these are the jobs where the site work is finished but we haven't QC'd the report yet. And then awaiting issue, again we've QC'd the report but we haven't handed it over to the client yet. So that was a very quick rundown of how to generate a fire damper inspection report using Flow Mobile Surveying. Now we did 4 things. We scheduled up the job on the dashboard, we collected some data on site, we used that swipe to copy to make it a bit quicker. Then we came back to the dashboard, did a QC of the report and issued it to the client. Now there's more features to the system, but that gives you a really good understanding of how Flow Mobile Surveying works. Now we're always happy to talk and get you onboarded, and so you can try out the system yourself. So please head on over to 𝗀𝗵𝗶𝗀.app/contact and we'll be happy to have a demo with you. I hope you're having a great week. See you around.